So let's go ahead and move through the agenda. Of course, the first thing I want to do is find some more moderators for future weeks. Have you guys made your selections?
No.
Well, you know, Venita, we're expecting you to be the first one to volunteer.
I know you do.
Yeah. So are we putting you down for chapter 1?
Are we on chapter 1?
No, we're on the introduction.
Oh. I read chapter 1.
Me too. I read introduction and chapter 1.
You all read the introduction and chapter 1?
No. I thought we were supposed to read that.
What did you read?
The introduction and chapter 1.
Well, good. So you're ready for next week.
Not really, but I'll give it a try. I'll let you know.
Oh, God. A reluctant facilitator.
Well, no, I just don't really, feel good about facilitating. Maybe if I do it a couple times, I'll feel a lot better about it.
Well, yeah. You gotta do it to get used to it. Okay, who's chapter 2? Profitable Wonders. Randie? Whose voice is that? Kim?
Yeah.
Kim for chapter 2. Okay. Chapter 3, Circus Africanus. Is that Randie?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Chapter 3. Chapter 4, the surgical theater.
That looks like I'm the last one.
That looks like you. And chapter 5, the restless dead. I think Joelle should do that one.
Okay, you're gonna volunteer him.
Well, you know how he brought up all that stuff about death when we were reading Alice Walker.
You do have a point. Okay.
All right, so after we get through chapter 5, then we're scheduled for a 1-week mental health break, which I believe we are going to need at that point. And so we can fill in some of the other blanks as we go along. Again, this session 3 is running from January 20th through June 2nd with 2-week-long vacations. And, and I think we're going to need both of them because this is heavy-duty stuff that we are looking at with Harriet Washington. Okay, do we need a timekeeper for tonight?
I don't think we will. I think it'll be short and right to the point. At least it will be for me. I don't really know if we need a timekeeper. I'll keep it though, but I don't think we'll be needing one.
Okay, so let's just bear in mind that we want to try to keep our comments down to around 3 or 4 minutes. If we need to go a little bit over, it's okay, but we just need to all try to be sensitive to the fact that it's hard for everybody to hold attention and therefore to get any benefit out of lengthy comments, which certainly I am one of the worst offenders. Also, just in terms of sounds, I'm so happy tonight to be in a quiet place. You have no idea how hard it is for me to find a quiet place in New York City. where I can even hear myself think, but I am in one tonight, so I'm grateful for that. But in terms of sounds, I do want you to keep your mics open so that we can hear whatever uh, reactions you may be having to the material or comments. But if there's a lot of noise in your background, um, then try to mute your mic when you can. The other thing is there anyone here that I know Venita doesn't like to be tagged in the videos, and I think you don't either, Kim. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. But you can always let me know about that. And again, I want to encourage you to share the videos with your social networks. I have actually shared all of the videos over the course of this last 2 months. I'm finally caught up to date, so I don't have any new videos to share except what we start making from here forward. So that's pretty interesting. So our book again is Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present by Harriet A. Washington. And as I've gotten kind of, the book is broken into 3 parts, and I've gotten through the first 2 parts of it, and as I've been reading, I've been trying to think about, what kinds of questions it evokes for me, what our dialogue around this very difficult subject matter might be like, how we can engage in the dialogue in a way that doesn't lead us into, depression. Um, and and also, I think it's a little bit difficult reading, both in terms of the content and the style. She certainly keeps me in the dictionary, so I don't want that to be a barrier for anybody, but she does require that you step up your game to be able to access this material, and I'm not exactly sure who her main target audience is. But, I know we can handle it. But it's not necessarily the kind of material that evokes, I guess because it's so factual. She's giving us a whole lot of facts. And so it doesn't necessarily evoke the kind of imagination or imaginative questions that come out of like what we had with Alice Walker. So I'm thinking that we might be able to, instead of having to go through a whole lot to come up with questions each week, we could just have these kind of what I'm calling suggested standard questions. And if something else occurs to us as if it's our week to facilitate, if other questions occur, then certainly we can go with those questions. But I'm not sure that we should be racking our brain as hard to come up with creative questions as we did last session. So the four sort of standard questions that I think could apply to any chapter that occur to me are: what did you learn from this week's reading selection? How did you feel about what you learned? What did you find most striking about the chapter, and why did it affect you that way? And what ideals do you have on protecting ourselves from medical violence? So how do you guys feel about that? Do you like the idea of standard questions, or you want to try to be creative each week?
I like it. It takes the load off. Yeah.
Well, I think the reading is it's such stressful reading, and quite frankly, I'm not enjoying it. So I can't even fathom after reading chapter 1 that I have the energy left to be creative if I wanted to. To be honest with you, it's very stressful reading. I found, and along with having to have a dictionary or Google's next to you, trying to keep your thought going in the process. I think standard questions will probably work out much better because you will not have the energy when you're done to get creative. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I do think the reading gets easier as you go along. I think in the first couple of chapters, she was trying to show us all the big words she knows.
Chapter 2, if I think about it. Chapter 1, as I read this, don't look for creativity from me because I was just tired. So,
yeah. I guess it wasn't a problem for Randie, huh?
The introduction was difficult.
Randie.
Can you hear me?
And you're going in and out. Yeah.
The introduction was difficult for me to get. It was dense, but the first chapter wasn't that.
Yeah.
I can see it getting better. I feel like the first chapter felt like the introduction, but like an interpreted introduction. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it gets easier and it gets better as you go along. Kim, have you started reading?
No, and I apologize. I've just been out of it, so
Okay.
I will catch up. And I did download it, so I'm just hoping to kind of catch up. But it was a little depressing, even what little I scanned. So it's like you got to put on your big girl shoes for this one.
Yes, and your big girl panties too. and as I said to Georgette, it's really you don't want to get too far behind on this one. But if you do get behind, my suggestion would be to read whatever each chapter is discrete. So if you kind of just stay current with whatever the current week's reading is, that's better than trying to go back and catch up from the beginning. That first chapter, the introduction, is really an exhaustive overview of what is going to be covered in more detail in each chapter. So that would be my suggestion, to read the current chapter.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so good. So whoever is facilitating can feel free to just add those 4 standard questions or come up with some more, and not spend a whole lot of time on that aspect of it. The other thing I want to just touch on before we get into the discussion is a little bit of, just to get you thinking a little bit about session 4. So in session 1, we read a very, it was a heavy topic, but You know, but the style of writing wasn't so difficult. But anyway, we read Danielle McGuire's At the Dark End of the Street, primarily dealing with the rape of black women by white men. That was nonfiction. And in session 2, we read the very lighthearted and inspirational We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For by Alice Walker. And now we're back on the dark end of the street with Harriet Washington's Medical Apartheid. And I know that Randie had mentioned wanting us to do some fiction next time around. So the way the books have been selected is, for the first session, I just chose the book because I was by myself, and so me and myself and I had a discussion, and we decided we wanted to read At the Dark End of the Street. But really, I do like the idea of democracy, and I wish I saw it happening more in everyday relationships. And so I wanted us to sort of have a democratic ethic around choosing our books. And so we did vote at the end of session 1, and we tied. We Are the Ones and Medical Apartheid. So actually session 2 and session 3 are the result of a democratic process. But I kind of would like to suspend that for session 4 and suggest that Randie start thinking about what she wants us to read, and then maybe after that go back to a democratic process. Any thoughts about that?
Yes.
Everybody else?
You're saying that, Randie, you want to try to read some fiction?
Mm-hmm.
So is that something that people can suggest fiction? Or did you have a book in mind?
No, I actually didn't have a book in mind. So
well, here's one to think about. Toni Morrison has a new book coming out this year.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it comes out in April or May or something. So you might want to look at that. But yeah, we can send you suggestions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. So I would love to hear people, everyone, fiction y'all like, so that if I have to make the executive decision, nobody's mad for a session.
When you went out, we missed you. What'd you say?
I would love to get everybody's opinion, because I don't want to be stuck with I don't want to be the one everybody when it's time. What y'all like? Then it'll be a book.
Okay. Venita, any reaction?
Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham.
No. It's always a lighthearted romp.
All right. No, I'll give it some thought though. But if all else fails, Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah.
After you've done this, you will need Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. Okay. No, I'll think of something between now and then.
Yeah, we're gonna need something on the light side, Randie. So which Toni Morrison may not be. I mean, you know.
Well, Randie, didn't you?
Oh.
I can hear you.
Randie, weren't you reading Octavia Butler?
Yes.
So